It's Friday, February 28th, 2020. Digital Trends Live is about to start. Here are some of the topics we're covering on today's episode of the show. The fears of an impending pandemic of the coronavirus is causing more major conventions to shut down before the doors ever even open. We'll get you the list and discuss what it all means. Also, with Major League Baseball about to start back up, there's a new edition of MLB The Show on the way. You get to sit down with Sony and get a hands-on demo of the latest game. And imagine this, if you could turn on your lights on and off just by thinking it. Well, Notion is a brain computing platform that promises that ability and a lot more. We'll discuss it with the CEO of Neurosity, AJ Keller. And there are a lot of trends in the car industry, including autonomy and electrification, but it's now making its way into the marine industry. We'll be joined by David Folks, the CEO of Brunswick Corporation, to talk about the way boating is changing. We'll have all of this and more on today's episode of Digital Trends Live. Yes, hello, this is Digital Trends Live. Thank you for joining us wherever you are. We do appreciate it. Of course, broadcasting live here every weekday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, bringing you trending tech headlines, news, interviews, discussions, and so much more. And we're broadcasting live on a number of different platforms. We're on Periscope, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Dailymotion, Apple News, 2 different mobile apps, a smart television app, and at digitaltrends.com/live. So thank you to everybody who is joining us here today. And we have a very, very special treat for you today. I'm Greg Nibbler, but we have a guest here in studio that really needs no introduction, but we will anyway. It is Caleb Dennison joining us.
Good morning, Greg.
Good morning,
Glad
Caleb
you could
Dennison.
join me.
Thank you very much
Fantastic.
for allowing me to be here in your studio, and I do appreciate it so much.
Yes.
You are looking fantastic today.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel like I work at a hospital. I
You
should
do?
Just walk up to a patient and start prescribing things.
Diagnosis Dennison. That's
Yes.
what he is.
Yeah,
Right
there
That's
you
the nickname
go.
for today. All right, let's
Hot
get it
this
started.
morning.
Let's get it started. We've got some things to talk about. Well, speaking of doctors, let's go to this. The coronavirus is now, of course, spreading let's start that over. I'm like, I got to start that one over.
It's my fault.
It is. The coronavirus is very serious, as we all know, and we know that it's spreading rapidly around the globe, and it is definitely having an impact on conventions. MWC already shut down, but just in the last 24 hours, we've had a number of different big tech conventions shut down in its wake. So yesterday, just to kind of walk through some of the list, and we'll discuss what this all means, Facebook with their F8, which is kind of their big thing to showcase everything that Facebook is doing. They work with all the developers for new products. They said they're canceling it. That is done. The Game Developers Conference, another big one that takes place March 16th to 20th. It's not completely done, but Microsoft has pulled out and Sony has pulled out, which is a huge, huge blow to that. I mean, clearly when you're talking about game developing, two of the biggest platforms out there aren't going to be at the event, both saying that it's because of concerns about the coronavirus. And then you also have the Geneva Auto Show, which is huge. It's expected that 600,000 people were going to be at this event in Geneva. It is now canceled completely. And Switzerland has actually banned any gatherings of people over 1,000. So if it's 1,000 people or over, it is illegal to have a gathering that big right now in Switzerland.
Diagnosis Dennison says we're all screwed.
Yeah.
No, I mean, look, this is a problem.
Next topic.
Also, in other news, all malls are closed. You can't go to the movies. Just don't. You know what?
Yeah.
Just don't go anywhere or go out.
It really is pretty crazy how much this is happening. It's all because of the fear, that it's going to spread, and you get a bunch of people together. And we do see a number of countries. I think it's up to 60 different countries now have cases of coronavirus.
This morning, for the first time, I'm hearing consistently across news reports the word global used.
Yeah.
It's hit the global level.
Yeah.
And I make jokes. Unfortunately, this is not funny. This is a really terrible deal. But it does make you look at, where's that line? Where above, you said 1,000?
Yeah, above 1,000, that's in Switzerland.
In Switzerland. They've decided that the line's at 1,000.
That's what they had, yeah.
But at what line do you think that a gathering, it shouldn't happen?
Where's the limit? I don't know. And what is the actual, the actual risk at some of these places? It's hard to say. And here, taking a look at just some other announcements that are coming about that. So let's see. It looks like Unreal Engine is not going to be. I'm just reading this right now. This is live as it's happening. So
they're not going to GDC.
So they're not going either.
Yeah.
So that's another big blow to that. I mean, you'd have to think at this point, if all of these companies are pulling out, that probably that will get canceled as well.
Right. I would like to think that this is done preemptively out of caution rather
does
than,
seem to be what
rather
it
than
is.
fear.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, when you say don't panic, a lot of the times the word that everybody hears is panic.
Right.
And it kind of works against you. Panic ensues. And I think that's my biggest concern right now as I'm watching all of these shutdowns is that people will perceive it as something that's done out of fear or panic rather than a preventative measure.
Yeah.
And I'd like to believe that it's still just a preventative measure, but man, what a mess. And, the market is continuing to fall.
There's
it's
that.
It's bearing this out. The concern is very real.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I'm feeling relatively safe right now, and we are very privileged, to have what we do. We have a very strong medical system. We have a strong security system here, and I think that the U.S. is in a good place to try and keep this at bay for a while. But there is a point at which it doesn't matter how wealthy your country is, you're at risk.
I mean, even the CDC even said it's not a matter of if, but when.
But when,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. So we'll have to, and what that means, that's the big question mark is how much this is going to continue to spread, but certainly affecting so many different things. There's also some more reports just about the supply chain for a number of tech manufacturers, and pretty much all of them across the board are saying there's going to be delays, we're not going to meet our profits, and all this could be pushed off for quite a while because all those manufacturing facilities in China are shut down.
Yeah, we've been talking a lot about this here at Digital Trends, writing a lot of feature stories around this because it does hit the tech industry quite a bit, but the appliance industry is also hit hard. I mean, if you want to buy a fridge, buy it right now. Don't plan on buying it later this year because the prices, unfortunately, are going to go up. The impact is real. And there's this delay that's going on. And you know what, Greg, we could talk about coronavirus all day, but the fact of the matter is there's a delay to the effect that this is having. So while it may not seem like a huge deal right now, just you wait. Come September, you're going to see the effects of this. Whether the coronavirus is still a real and present danger or not, we will be feeling the effects later.
Yeah, how long lasting it's going to be is certainly something that's up in the air. I mean, nobody has the answer to that, but this is where we're at right now. So all of these conventions canceled, and then just of note, even things that are coming up, South by Southwest is apparently monitoring what's going on. There's other ones that are coming up as well that have to pay attention to this. So we'll see where it all goes, but you can read more about what we know so far at digitaltrends.com. All right, let's continue on and talk about something else here. So just bringing you up to date on that. Here's another trending story. We all love our Amazon Prime accounts, but what about Walmart Plus? That is apparently what Walmart is going to be launching in order to try to compete with Amazon. Now, we know Amazon and Walmart are certainly at odds. Amazon dominates the online side. Walmart dominates the brick and mortar stores. Amazon's trying to go into their space with their new stores that they're opening up. Now, Walmart really wants to get some of that Amazon Prime money. So Walmart Plus is allegedly what's going to be going on. So it's a membership program. It's going to be starting in a few weeks. They think it's speculated it's going to be kind of a spin-off of what they have already, which is Walmart's Delivery Unlimited service, and it offers free same-day grocery delivery for an annual fee of $98. So this would be something that would go along with that, maybe fold in some other perks. And what those perks could be, they said maybe some discounts on prescription drugs, give them some drugs, fuel at Walmart, gas stations, and other kinds of services they could add in.
Greg, I'm going to ask you a question.
Yes.
Do you think that this can take off for Walmart? I mean, obviously they have a massive presence, but they really are brick and mortar retail. I mean, they do a lot of online sales and shipping during the holiday season, to be sure.
Yep.
But on a day-to-day basis, will people really think of Walmart the way they think of Amazon? Like, ooh, I need to buy a 10-pack of D-cell batteries. Are you going to go to Amazon Prime? Or Walmart.
Walmart Plus,
I think Walmart, as big as it is and as large of a presence as it has in the retail sector of the U.S., I think they have an uphill battle to get the sort of mind share that Amazon Prime has built up so far.
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on where you're at, because there are certain markets definitely where Walmart is a very, very big presence.
Well, in the Midwest, Walmart is absolutely king.
And that's it, like Midwest and South, and that's, they're just regions where Walmart really dominates. So maybe that's something that if they advertise this enough, that would be something they could add on and actually compete with Amazon.
Yeah.
In that, I think it's a regional thing.
Walmart said that it wants to offer some services that Amazon Prime doesn't currently offer. And when I read that, my immediate thought was, what does an Amazon Prime offer at this point?
Very true, yeah.
What can they possibly do? Like, they're going to print your photos for you? Or I don't know.
They said part of it could be a scan and go service where you go to a Walmart and then you just grab your stuff and essentially go. So probably not unlike the Amazon Go store. Maybe a specific section where you could go if you have your Walmart Plus card or something. Yeah, what can they offer? I mean, clearly they don't have the entertainment side of things either. Walmart does have, I believe they own Vudu.
They own Vudu, which is a place where you can store your digital movies that you own.
Yeah.
It's not as if they have a bunch of programming that they can offer people to watch for free.
Yeah.
And they don't have the rights to the movies that get stored there. So, yeah, they don't have anything like Amazon Prime Video or Amazon Music right now.
Well, we'll have to see, where it actually goes, but it's definitely something they're trying to compete with. So we'll that battle between Amazon and Walmart's definitely going to continue. And Walmart is very much aware of Amazon trying to get into their space.
Sure. Yeah.
So they're trying to get into their space. It's a little back and forth. Each one of them's poking each other, but we'll have to see what ends up with it. But you can read more about that at digitaltrends.com. Continuing on, of course, we did bring up that coronavirus is canceling conventions. MWC already canceled, but all of these phone manufacturers still have to get their products out there. And so it's kind of slowly rolling out one by one, and we have another one, and it's kind of an interesting phone. The only reason we're talking about this is because some of the specs on this and some of the things that they did are pretty unique. So we've got Vivo, which is a Chinese brand, in case you don't know, and they've got their Apex 2020 smartphone. But one of the key features here is that I thought was pretty cool is the gimbal that they have. They've got a built-in gimbal within the camera itself on the back of the phone for stabilization. Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty clever.
It is pretty clever. It's kind of one of those things where they're bringing in some of those aspects of like, a GoPro or something along those lines and putting it into the back of the phone. So it's a really big lens there. So as you can see, I mean, they've got a couple of lenses in it, but that's what they're going for, so that it can actually stabilize itself as you're shooting whatever you're shooting.
That's interesting. They also have an in-display camera, sort of hiding behind the display, which is really interesting.
Hidden selfie
It's nice
camera.
to see some innovation coming from a non-Samsung, Apple, or LG, or Google. Though, again, speaking of uphill battles, with Samsung having just released the S20 series, especially the S20 Ultra, and it's absolutely ridiculous camera. We know the iPhone 12 is coming. I kind of wonder how well Vivo is poised to compete, especially with the manufacturing issues that are happening in China right now. I hate to sound like a broken record, but man, I'm not honestly, Greg, I'm just not counting on much of anything big happening this year in terms of shipments and sales and what have you. It's going to be tough.
I mean, and I guess I should say this is a concept phone too.
Oh, okay.
So this is one of those ones where it could come out to clarify that and just to make sure that everybody.
Well, in that case, great idea, Vivo.
But it does sound like they put out some pretty amazing videos of it to talk about that, and so they said that this is probably things that are going to be building in. So to clarify what I was talking about with that, but still, I love that concept. That's a pretty cool thing to put in. I like the idea of a gimbal and putting that into it, like any kind of innovation in that field.
You know what's missing here is our opportunity to put our hands on it. I mean, if we would be at MWC here in a day or two, and we'd actually be holding it and looking at it and showing you videos of this, and we're just not getting to do that right now.
Yeah, that's another one of those big things without these conventions. I mean, especially for us here who review these products, getting your hands on them, like you said, being able to test them, being able to see what's going on with them, that's a huge thing. So that's another kind of loss from that, albeit, kind of a minor one comparatively to some of the other issues, but still. We're going to see more and more of these companies too, especially with all these cancellations. They'll be rolling out their own things in their own ways. We'll have to see what that all looks like, but that was Vivo, so you can read more about that at digitaltrends.com. All right, we've got one more trending news story, and then we've got a product of the day, but this one I really wanted to bring up because I wanted to get Caleb Dennison's opinions on flying.
Tell me something good, Greg.
So here it is. This is New Zealand Air, who is proposing a new way to alleviate some of the concerns of long-distance travel in coach. So this is something for the coach people, not just the first class people, where they want to set up essentially beds that would be in the back of coach for some of their long distance flights, in particular the one from Auckland to New York, which is like 17 hours. And this, they're calling it the Economy Skynest.
Yes.
Where they'd have 6 different, essentially it looks like kind of like bunk beds.
Yes.
Where you could go and you would reserve them for a certain amount of time.
Yes.
And be able to go lay down in there, but you wouldn't get it for the whole flight.
What?
Yes.
Oh, you lost me.
That's almost there.
No,
almost there.
You know what? 1,000 times yes, Greg. Give me this. Give me this now. I need it. I know that this is just an idea. They still have to get the green light.
They still have to get the green light.
But man, I would take it. And even if it was only for like an hour or two, you know, that you got to get away from your seat and go lay down, man, this could be a game changer. And you know what? You could make them tiny little bunks, like put them 3 high, you know, like they do in cruise ships or submarines or whatever, where there's not a ton of room in there, but you get to lay down for a second. And that would be huge, especially on those long haul flights. I mean, when you're talking about going from Auckland to New York City.
Right, that's a really long flight. It's like 17 hours.
Yeah, that's just brutal.
The thing is, though, there's only 6 of these. So how they reserve those out, clearly not everybody's going to be able to get a shot at.
No, you're going to have to book them ahead of time.
Yeah.
So, like, you know how you get to choose your meal or whatever when you're checking in for your flight. I imagine that you would get to... They would open up a period at which you could actually reserve some time.
Yeah.
They'll have predetermined time slots for you to get into.
They said they would put fresh sheets on, so
yes.
you have to go in
At
there.
Least they changed the bedding in between passengers. They don't do that for your chair.
No. The thing is, no, that's true. The thing is, how are they going to get people out of those things? Like once they're already like stuck in there, you get some guy way in the back like, oh, can't hear you, can't hear you.
Oh, sorry, I overslept. No,
yeah, there's no way you're getting them out of there.
It's going to take...
Bill's going to be in there for hours.
It's going to be a whole new skill set that your flight attendants have to adapt, where they're going to have to yank people out of there. And then when you get somebody like the old Whiskey Mist, who's had a few before he bunks out and just doesn't feel like getting out of bed, you might have a little situation on your hands. Just saying.
Might have a situation. There it is. You heard it here first. All right.
Hey, did I mention it's Friday, Greg?
It is Friday. And it's now time for the product of the day. Hey,
I'm going to let you in on a little secret. It's now time for the product of the day.
All right. Hello, everyone. Yes, the product of the day today is the Unz Angle 3. Now, if you're like me, you've got about 1 billion Bluetooth speakers at home, or if you're not, you need more, because Bluetooth speakers are awesome. And this one in particular, I'm going to tell you why this is a good one for a couple of different reasons. One, the sound is actually really, really good on these things. It's really loud for how quiet it is, and I can tell you that once one of the cool things about a small speaker like this too is that it's really portable. So you can take it with you anywhere you go. Imagine you're going on a hike, you know, summer's coming up, you need something like this. You're gonna go outdoors, you're gonna be, you know, you wanna throw it in one of your side rooms, have it there with you no matter where you go. Also, you can take it in the shower. Yes, you can take this in the shower. That is a key component. I'm a big fan of the shower speakers. So you've got that idea. It's also got a 100-foot Bluetooth range, which means it's got Bluetooth 4.2 on it, which provides faster connection. It connects with the Echo Dot. So there's really a lot that you can do with these things. And that's one of the key things. Like, right, you want a speaker that you're going to be able to use no matter where you go. And that is why I am recommending you pick up this. Now, it's lightweight. And it's only 10 ounces, so it's really small. It really isn't pretty incredibly light. It really is pretty loud. The battery lasts up to 14 hours, and it's only $24.99 right now online. So click that link, pick this up. This is the Unz Angle 3. Again, this is your product of the day.
Unz, 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 unz.
All right, there we go. It's Friday. We're having fun. Caleb Dennison, I want to say thank you very much for joining us here today.
Yeah, it's been my pleasure. Great way to start the day.
We're going to carry on with the rest of the show. I don't know how, but we have a lot coming up. So up next, actually, we got the first look at Sony's MLB The Show. That means baseball season is back, and so we've got a video of that actually showcasing the new game and sitting down with Sony. So that's coming up next. Stick around. We'll be right back with more Digital Trends Live.
What's up, everybody? This is Mike with Digital Trans. I'm here with Ramon Russell from Sony San Diego Studios, and this is MLB The Show 20, and we're going to get to play it.
All right,
Let's do it.
let's do it.
All right, so tell me, what is some of the new stuff?
Well, gameplay, playing the game is a huge thing for us every single year. So we wanted to do a few things. One, we wanted to create and give users an opportunity to have their players that they're using perform at their most optimum level, basically perfect. So we have a few new features.
Oh, I see the Delta sign. Sorry to
Yes,
interrupt.
we have real
Nice.
ads in a lot of the stadiums. The team works really hard to get that done. So we have a few new systems in the game that are exactly that. The first one is called Perfect Perfect. And Perfect Perfect is something that's in the hitting engine. And I just...
Throw the ball, Gary.
Perfect Perfect, the way it works is, if you can be perfect with your timing and perfect on your contact grade, you can generate a perfect perfect line drive, a perfect perfect ground ball, or a perfect perfect fly ball. And so if you can do this, you can basically square a ball up as perfect as you can be. He will hit that ball at the optimal launch angle and as hard as that player can possibly hit it.
Okay.
Now, player ratings play a part in this. So guys with like 80 power and over, if you get a perfect perfect fly ball, outside of you playing in polo grounds, it's gonna become a souvenir. So you can almost guarantee yourself a home run if you can get a perfect perfect fly ball. The thing is, it's very, very difficult.
Yeah.
Perfect perfect swings for the average user, you'll probably get it around 2 to 4% of your total swings, which isn't a lot. But when you get it, it feels so good. And we also have different audio cues in the game for those as well. We have an audio cue for perfect perfect fly ball, for perfect perfect line drive, and for perfect perfect grounder.
Cool.
And it's basically when you get a ball, just like in real life, it sounds different. Like if you're at a baseball game, maybe you're passively paying attention and somebody gets a hold of one, everybody looks up because you hear it.
Yeah,
and
you
like
know
you'll
that sound.
hear it before you even see it. And the thing is, it's also dependent upon the player that you're using. Like Nelson Cruz is a power hitter. That's why you see that top diamond is the biggest diamond of the two. And what that represents is Nelson Cruz's perfect range and how he is as a hitter, because that top diamond is really big. That's the fly ball range. Lets you know he's a fly ball hitter. He hits a lot of home runs. Defense.
Yes.
Probably the biggest changes in the game, gameplay-wise, are on the defensive side of the ball. The first thing we have is the ECI, which is called the Extreme Catch Indicator. In previous MLB The Show games, there was no risk or reward for charging hard-sinking line drives. You just run it up in full speed and the guy will make the catch.
Yeah.
Anybody who watches real baseball knows that's not what happens
You
in
run
real
too
life.
quickly, the ball's going right over your
the ball
head.
can go either right overhead,
Yeah.
it could eat you up,
Yeah.
or it could skip off the ground and it's behind you, and now that single is now a double or a triple. And so what we've done is on hard sinking line drives, you'll see the ball marker, it will flash red. That indicates to you that this is an extreme catch situation. So you have a few options as a user. First thing you want to do is be aware of how good your fielders is. So this is a new screen. You press R3, you can do this in Road to the Show as well. It'll show you how good your outfield is. And so you got to make this split-second decision. You got to take into account, who am I using in the outfield? Is he a really good fielder? Because if he's a really good fielder, he has a higher probability of making that shoestring catch or keeping that ball in front of him. If he's not a real good fielder, let's say, you know, it's a game where Nelson Cruz has a playing right field and we know he's not known for his defensive prowess, there's a higher probability of that ball getting behind him dropping it, or him eating it up.
That's really amazing that the AI is that specific.
Yeah, you're really gonna see the elite players in the game stand out more this year, especially on defense and on offense with perfect.
He's out. So now we are in Road to the Show.
In Road to the Show.
Tell me, what have you added to in this
This year for Road to the Show was all about expanding upon the systems that were introduced last year based on user feedback. So last year we introduced relationships. This year, those same relationships that you build will affect your abilities on the field. So here we're in a team screen and you see, I'm not very familiar with all of my teammates. However, I'm a second baseman. The shortstop I'm friendly with, and I'm friendly with the third baseman. So when we play together, we're going to give each other attribute games. You'll also help improve these relationships in real time. When you're making plays, we'll tell you exactly when you're getting attribute bonuses and when you're building those friendships and you're strengthening your team chemistry.
That's a great take on the RPG party bonus, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
right? I mean, and it's such a smart, like, whoever had that idea, the light bulb must have gone off and it was bright.
Yeah.
In real sports, I mean, that happens, you know? You have a good relationship with your teammates, you're going to play well, the team gets along, you always hear about team chemistry.
Team chemistry is huge, and that's what we've done this year. We've brought team chemistry into live gameplay. Another thing new in Road to the Show is our dynamic challenges are now even more dynamic, and they're smarter. They're going to proc now based upon the situations more than they would so last year. So we're going to give you way more situations and more diverse situations, and we're giving you more user agency on what you want to improve if you can complete those challenges. You can get relationship gains, you can get base gains, you can get cap gains. Also on Road to the Show, huge thing, we have full real minor league rosters. We have over 1,500 real players. Drop in!
I wanted to ask about that. So now you have, and this is new, folks, you get the full rosters now from, is it from single A up? Is it double A?
It's double A, triple A. We have over 1,500 players. I think 1,300 to start, and we're still working on another 200 that I believe will be in the game at launch or shortly after launch. And it was a collaboration between the Sony San Diego studio and Rodden Rosters.
Leads me to my other question, legends. Any new legends this year?
Over 30 new legends.
Okay.
We haven't revealed all of them.
I do know one very specific Enter Sandman one because that's in the trailer. That's
Yes,
exciting.
Mariano Rivera is one of the new pitching legends.
Nice.
David Ortiz is back. Gary Sheffield is back. We have John Franco and many, many, many more legends to be revealed in the upcoming weeks before the game launches.
Excellent.
And throughout the season.
So what, of all the modes, of all the changes, what are you excited for the fans to see?
It's not just about Road to the Show. It's not just about Diamond Dynasty or Franchise Mode or Road, March to October. It's a package. I think what people will notice the quickest is how dynamic gameplay is. Fielding has never been this fun. You're not gonna know exactly what's gonna happen all of the time. And once people start playing it, like, you notice it immediately. Like, the game is just a lot more alive. There's way more variety in the situation. We're always looking at the game. We don't ship it and just forget about it. Once the game comes out, we're looking at tons of UX data, tons of telemetry data. And then as we need to change the game, if we find out that something's unbalanced, you know, we have a track record of always trying to do that and listen to community feedback throughout the season.
And March
17th is the launch date. However, we do have early access this year, which is March 13th, and you can get early access March 13th if you decide to pick up the MVP Digital Deluxe or 15th anniversary edition of MLB The Show 20.
Oof. See ya.
Perfect, got it.
That's a shot.
Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler, and thank you for joining us wherever you're watching. We do appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button because we like to keep you up to date with what is going on in technology and certainly trending news. And we're going to talk about all of that right now. Joining us, we've got Eric Mitchell, who's the co-founder of Life Flip Media. Eric, thanks for being here on the show.
Hey, Greg, how you doing today?
Doing great. Appreciate it a lot that you're joining us here. And certainly, I think one of the biggest things that we have to talk about today is what's going on with the coronavirus. I mean, there's a lot globally we can discuss with that, but in particular, there's some big tech conventions that have just been dropping like flies here over the last 24 hours. You had MWC earlier this year, a couple weeks ago, I guess. It's already, it feels like it was earlier this year, but it wasn't that long ago. And now you have F8. You've got some other ones that are happening too. Can you kind of give us a rundown of what has been happening here over the last 24 hours or so?
It's been bananas, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Everybody, I mean, just all of a sudden, I mean, and kind of in pattern with the stock market this week, it just went this way. Shopify, as of, I believe, about 2 hours ago, released that they are no longer doing their conference. The Game Developers Conference is still running, yet most of their big name brands will not be there. Microsoft, Sony, EA, they're not showing up. There's great concern. I mean, the travel restrictions that are in place kind of happened a little too late. I mean, there was a network this morning that literally had someone who was cured, and the gentleman was coughing nonstop on his interview. So,
wow.
It's really interesting seeing this as a trend. I agree with a lot of these conferences that are coming up. I mean, we do have to be very cautious. I mean, how many people are in attendance at these conferences usually? I mean, that's a lot of people. Yeah, I think the Geneva Auto Show was like 600,000 people apparently end up coming through Geneva for that, and that's canceled as well. And the Shopify one, like you said, 2 hours ago. I mean, it's happening consistently that these things are being shut down. Talking to you, just being in media, we're in media as well, but you certainly have this analysis kind of a broader spectrum when it comes to the coronavirus. How have you seen the trends in coverage of it in general? It's funny. It's either outright panic or don't worry at all. I mean, we've seen the jokes all week about washing your hands, which, by the way, you should do no matter if there's a coronavirus or not. Let's not just start now. Washing our hands is a fascinating thing. But I've seen it in the media. We've gone to this outright, both sides. I mean, both, you know how media is. It's either one side or the other.
Yeah.
And no one's really giving you any full information. And that's why I think there should be concern. We should treat this. It is growing throughout everywhere. And I'm going to lean on the side of caution. As a parent, as just a person who travels a lot, you should always err on the side of caution. So they have a right to be this way. I even saw, I believe it was, There's a video game conference that the Chinese League of Legends is still going to continue their coverage, but they're doing it all remote now. So, I mean, I think that's what we're going to go to. We always talk about remote. We might need to do that. It's unfortunate for some of these conferences. But I mean, if you look at a big media picture, even the Tokyo Olympics this summer they're in jeopardy right now. I believe they said there's a 2-month window to either make the decision to continue forward with it or cancel the Olympics outright, which I believe is a $2.4 billion spend already by our friends at NBC who are doing the coverage of the Olympics on advertising alone. So the coronavirus is having a massive effect. So I believe there'll be more panic before people calm down and see. I mean, truly, if we go, if you don't mind, I mean, This virus is proven to it feeds on cold weather, not warm weather, which is great for the Northern Hemisphere as we head into spring and summer, but that still leaves our friends in the Southern Hemisphere, and that's a whole lot of people, including big continents like Australia are in there. So we have to be careful. This virus isn't going to go away, and we do need to be very cautious and talk about it. People need to be aware it's going on.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's up to 60 countries now. I mean, that could have changed too. Who knows in the last hour? I don't even know at this point. I mean, it's rapidly changing. There's actually a great dashboard. We've got a link on our website to it, but you can look it up. It's a dashboard that kind of tracks where it's at globally, and it's every day more and more people that are being affected by this. Looking at it from a couple of different angles, I mean, there's so many different ways that you can talk about this. I guess looking at the tech slice of things, another big announcement has to do with the manufacturing side and supply chain because so much is in China, and it does seem like from a number of the companies, like Apple's talked about it, Microsoft's talked about it, and a number of others, that it seems like we're going to see some delays in products going forward throughout the rest of the year.
I have seen that. Work with a lot of folks, was just on another network. We were talking about this. There's a lot of companies that do, small businesses who do have worked with China, and now their products are being delayed coming over. And you're actually seeing it even in New York right now. If you go to Chinatown, it's pretty shut down. I mean, it's just not it's amazing how it's affecting us here. And you don't think of how many of our products come from China, which
Right.
is shocking that people don't understand. A lot of them do, but you're going to see it happen, especially in tech. I mean, I know it's going to affect Apple. I'm hearing that their normal September, October release might be pushed back just because, they'd have to start producing these phones sooner or later. You're seeing this with all these new devices. And I also believe it's going to drive the cost up, right? If we're going to talk about tech, we're talking about the new Samsung flip phone and those other things. It's going to drive the cost up. Either they're going to be able to produce them in China or they're going to have to take it someplace else because we don't know how long this is going to continue on. I mean, this virus, we're depending on people who don't always faithfully report the truth in their numbers. And I know that there's been a couple outlets in the last about 2 to 3 hours that have released that these numbers could be off by drastic measures. Like there's whole cities in China that have factories in them that are not working, period. Like,
and we're not getting those reports or those numbers. Yeah, I mean, it really is a pretty scary thing. Looking at it from these recent announcements, that we started off with talking about the conventions that are being canceled, and as we said, MWC, obviously, F8. It sounds like the Game Developers Conference is really going to be barren of pretty much any of the major players. Going forward, how do you think this is going to affect things for all these companies? Because they still have to make their announcements. I mean, these are still major product pushes and major PR campaigns that they have planned around these. What do you think the trend is going to be for these companies to actually be able to do that without getting this face-to-face time at these conventions?
I think what they're going to copy is our great friends at Apple. Apple is probably the best at doing releases. I think we can all agree on that. From what I'm hearing is a lot of these companies, EA, Sony, who are depending on these releases, they're going to do these independent standalone shows like Apple does, right? Going to invite the press in and keep the numbers within what they need to keep them within. So there's none of this issue of having 600,000 people at a conference. Instead, they can just make it to the media and get their release out still. They're not going to obviously not release the media that they had planned. So they're still going to go forward with it. They're just going to have to do it in a smaller audience and depend on social media to spread the word.
Right, these live streaming events where, I think you're right. Apple does a great job of that. So maybe, copying that model and just keeping it real limited to, hey, here it is. And I mean, everybody can watch online at least. So that is a good point on that one. Any other things that you're seeing in association with this that you'd want to talk about just going forward here with the coronavirus and some of this coverage?
It's going to be other conferences that move forward. I mean, especially in the tech space, we do know that there's larger conferences coming up in the fall and the ones that take place in the summer. And I think we're going to have to pay attention to those. I mean, there's some big ones, especially coming to the Bay Area later this year that we're going to need to be aware of. If the Olympics are affected, I see most conferences being affected. Let's face it, the big ones that are here in the States and those globally will be affected. So we're going to have to, we'll see how this plays out over the next, I believe as we watch what the Olympics does, it's going to control what the rest of these conferences do. I mean, they're paying attention. F8 was a shocker to most people that went, but then to see Shopify this morning make their announcement, I just think it's going to be a pattern as we see the true numbers come out. And once the virus reaches the States in a bigger capacity than I think they said 14, 15 people, once it reaches a bigger capacity, we'll have to see how that plays out. Truly, unfortunately, you have to wait till the cards drop, right? And that's what we're going to be waiting. But it will be interesting as we move through the year how they're going to handle this virus.
Well, Eric, thank you very much for joining us here on the show. Appreciate it a lot. And looks like we have to get to a break, but I want to remind everybody, Life Flip Media and Eric L. Mitchell. Follow Eric online, follow him on social media. And Eric, we appreciate it. We had just a little bit of a tech thing there, so we had to wrap that up. But I do appreciate very much his insight into that. And certainly there's a lot of coverage going on with coronavirus that you can follow along with at digitaltrends.com and elsewhere. Thanks to Eric Mitchell. All right, coming up next, we've got another segment of Work Life, where normally Ciara Pressler would be here in studio with me. However, she is the perfect embodiment of a professional. And this next segment is going to be about vacationing, and she put herself through the rigors of going on a vacation to do this next segment. So she is going to be live with us from Cabo. So that is coming up next. Stick around. Back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. Hello and welcome back to Digital Trends Live. Thank you everyone for joining us, and we do appreciate it. And we like to talk about trending tech topics, and we like to bring you information that can help you out in your life, and that is why we have a segment called Work Life with Sierra Pressler, who I have to say is the perfect embodiment of a professional, because today's segment I know is about vacationing and work, and just to see what you are going through, the efforts and the lengths you've gone to make sure this segment works, I just have to say thank you, Sierra.
Well, I am here for you guys, and I thought, how can I preach about taking a vacation unless I take a vacation?
It makes sense. It makes sense, and I know this is a lot of hard work for you, but this is what we're talking about today. So vacation and balance in work and life. I do have to find out what you're drinking by the end of this, but how do we talk about this? Because I know the vacations are important, but it's really hard to take them sometimes.
It's so hard. We live in a culture where productivity is prized above everything else, and in corporate culture, it can almost be seen as lazy if you take some vacation time. And for those who are self-employed, freelancing, or own their own business like me, there's an extra layer of guilt because if you're not doing it, it's not happening.
Yeah, and that's true. I mean, thinking about it along those lines, well, what are some recommendations that you would have for us to try to get through that barrier and follow your example?
Yes, well, I have a few recommendations. And first of all is realize that productivity, if that's your goal, is fed by taking a break. And that doesn't have to be taking an actual international vacation, as I am right now, but that's even taking your weekends, shutting your phone off at night, finding ways that you don't have to be plugged in all the time. The next tip, of course, is to book that trip. Things will not fall apart if you're gone. Very few of us are in actual emergency careers, right? Like the world will not fall apart if we are not at work. And so book that trip and everything else will work itself out. You will find that you get that project done ahead of that trip and that everything else will still be waiting for you when you get back.
I think that's an interesting point too of booking it and then just letting it happen, because that's one of the biggest obstacles I feel like is talking about it. Everybody talks about vacation like, oh no, I'm going to go to Ireland, I'm going to go do this, personal example, but then never actually hitting the button and just doing it. So I think that's a big obstacle to get over.
Hey, maybe like all things, you need accountability. I'm sure you can find a friend who's willing to go with you and hold you accountable to that vacation goal.
I like it. Well, talking about the benefits of vacation, because you brought that up too, and productivity and how important that is. What are some of the benefits of doing that for you in your personal and professional life?
Well, especially with creative thinking, creativity can't always be forced. So sitting at your desk and making ideas come is usually not the best way to get there. Turning off is a way to just let go, and sometimes it makes those ideas flow better in that creativity. So that could be anything from leaving work early to go on a hike if you're able to do that, to getting really engaged with a hobby on the weekend, to just travel. Plus, it opens you up to new ideas. I know when I was traveling in Barcelona, I saw all the amazing design, and it really brought my level of aesthetic design, graphics to the next level. And so you get new influences. You're not stuck in the same bubble, and all of that is going to help you become more creative, smarter, and able to think outside the proverbial box.
So it really is going to help you in your professional life to take a vacation.
Of course, it's just like sleep. You can only go for so long without a good night's rest, right?
Right.
And so you need to rest your entire body, your mind from your routine from time to time so that you don't just dig in that same groove over and over. Plus, the whole point of working is to live, not the other way around. And so be sure you're getting the full benefits of how hard you've worked and reward yourself.
I love it. Well, talking about unplugging, you brought that up too. Just some other ways, if we can't all get down to Cabo, like some other things that we could do. I know, that's where we want to go. But some other things, like even those smaller things on the weekend, that people can do more readily and just do that right away. Unplugging is difficult, for me anyway. What are some tips that you have to unplug?
It's very difficult. That phone addiction is real.
Yes.
Phones are designed to give you those intermittent rewards so that you'll stay on them. But a good digital detox is helpful for everybody. So spend even just half a day, leave your phone at home and go run some errands. You will survive. Put your phone to bed in a different room than where you sleep. Maybe take a week off of social media. I try to do that once a year. It gets increasingly difficult, but there's definitely a benefit.
What if I miss an email, Sierra, though? I mean, the world could come to an end.
You know, I heard once years ago, it was such a great tip that autoresponders are one of the best unused marketing tools. So I always try to be creative in my out of office message and direct people maybe to my latest blog post or give them a quick blurb about what I've been up to, and it becomes a marketing opportunity. There you go.
I like it. All right, that is an excellent tip. Okay, now I'm going to be working on my auto reply. All right, anything else that you want to let people know too, just about the importance of this, taking a vacation, and also where they can follow you online?
Absolutely. It does not have to be a big, luxurious, expensive trip at all. Just getting out of your bubble is so important. Last summer, I was all about those road trips, just finding a cheap place to stay and getting out on the open road. And it has the same effect as jet setting to another country. So to see some photos from my trip, you can follow me on Instagram at the Mayoress, and you can get all of our pro tips by following Pregame, my company, at Pregame Mag on Twitter and Instagram.
Well, Sarah, thank you so much for taking some time out of your vacation to join us. Continue on. What is it that you're drinking, by the way?
It's juice.
Okay.
You know, I'm keeping it healthy too. That's another way you can travel.
There you go. All right, Sierra Pressler, thank you so much again. Another edition of Work Life. Really, really appreciate it.
Hasta luego.
All right, we have more here to continue on. So let's do this. We've got some great interviews coming up here on the show, and the next one is fascinating. So if you've ever thought about, this idea of brain interfaces, we see it talked about in sci-fi. You see companies working on stuff way out into the future. Well, it's actually happening. And there's a company called Neurosity, and we're going to be joined by their CEO, AJ Keller, to talk about their particular brain interface headband that actually will allow you to do things just by thinking. I know it sounds complicated, and it is complicated, but we're going to be discussing that next. So stick around. We'll be right back with more Digital Trends Live. This is Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler, and thank you for joining us wherever you're watching. Hit that subscribe button so that way you can join the show. And we like to talk about cutting-edge technology. But what we're going to talk about next sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie, but it is reality. We're going to discuss it right now. Joining us, the CEO of Neurosity, we have AJ Keller. AJ, thank you for being here on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to talk about this product and just what it is that you're doing, but I want to give everybody a little bit of a background. Can you talk about what Neurosity is and what some of the influences are that you're trying to, some of the obstacles you're trying to overcome when it comes to technology?
Absolutely. So I often hear a lot where people say they're not good with technology. It doesn't work for them. And I really believe that's because the way that these programs are being made just isn't reflective of the people using them. So imagine a future where the way you use a computer is more natural. It's just thinking to use the technology around you, and we can do more than we ever thought was possible.
And I think it's hard for a lot of people to think outside of that box. We're used to the ways that we interact with our computers. I'm used to this keyboard right here, or a touch screen, or using my phone. And you're talking about changing that up and doing things maybe more intuitively, and as you mentioned, thinking. And that's what I want to kind of get into and talk about what this is that you've created.
Absolutely. So we created a small little device that goes on the back of your head pretty easily, just like that. And you can wear it for a number of hours at a time. It's reading your brain activity, and it's sort of being able to turn the lights on just by thinking. You don't have to get up off the couch to turn the lights on anymore. If you want to go for a jog, you can have music that pumps you up and gets you in the right mood. And you can sort of start controlling different devices around your house as well.
So this is all figuring this out intuitively by picking up your brain waves.
Absolutely, yeah. So there's this neural architecture that is shared between humans, and it's about a third of our brain. And we strategically place sensors around those areas that allow us to pick up on this brain activity that's similar between humans. And then we're able to tie different imagined thoughts. So I'll give you an example. If you imagine, moving your left foot, you can drive a wheelchair forward. And if you imagine moving your right foot, you can drive a wheelchair backwards. So it's a really big opportunity for people with accessibility challenges and different skill sets like that.
So this 1/3 of neural activity is the same across all humans. So no matter who it is, once you map that, this would work on whoever it is.
Right. So there's a little training period that you go through. So there's like a web application. It's just like, how your phone learns your fingerprint. So you put your thumb down for a couple seconds, you lift it up, you put your thumb down again. It's the same thing. You think the thought, take a rest. You think the thought, take a rest. And then our machine learning on the device learns that neural activity.
I mean, that's incredible. How I guess, we don't need to go too far down into it, but I'm just really curious, like how you were able to map this stuff and where this information came from and what kind of sensors are reading these brainwaves.
Sure. So your brain is a big pile of electricity, and it's able to, when thousands of neurons fire together, we're able to pick up on the sum of that electricity at the top of your head. And we have little sensors that are almost like combs. So they go through your hair and touch your scalp comfortably, and then pick up on that electrical activity. And because we have multiple sensors, in the movies when they say, we got to triangulate this guy using, cell phone towers, that's just 3 different sensors, and they're able to pick a location in space. And so that's how we sort of work. We have multiple sensors that are able to pick up on electrical activity in space.
And it's able to figure out, okay, this is the neural activity for moving your left foot, like your example was, or this is turning on the lights or turning off the lights. And talking about that now, getting into the actual tech side of the headpiece, how is this running all of these computations within that? Is it cloud-based? Is it all running it within the headband itself? What's the power behind it?
So we're the first company to ever put a device on the market that has computers, internet, and brain imaging combined. And so we have something that's as powerful as a MacBook Air running on the back of your head. It's the sci-fi reality where you have computers running on your actual head. And so that's where all of the the magic's happening, and the data processing and the signal analysis is happening. And in that way, we can keep your information private and secure. And all this device needs to do is use its Wi-Fi or Bluetooth to control any Internet of Things device.
So you just connect it to your Internet of Things, like your home network or whatever you've set up, and this can run things on that. Now, we talked about the lights, and I keep going back to that example, just somebody thinking about the lights. What are the other things that you can do with this once you're connected?
So the way I use it personally, I'm a programmer, and I'll put this on at the beginning of a programming session, and I'm able to then track my productivity while I'm programming. And when I'm in a high focus state, my notifications automatically get turned off. And when I start losing focus, I actually get a notification like, hey, get back in the zone, so that I can learn how to stay focused for a longer period of time. We're also working on a way so that, music is automatically selected for me, and then I'm able to enjoy, music that helps keep me in the zone longer as well.
So this is based on what your brainwaves are. It says, okay, you're stressed out, and here's some calming music, or you seem tired, here's something to pump you up. Like, it would be able to register that and then play that for you.
Right, and continually pick the next song to keep getting you closer and closer to that state that you want to be in.
That is crazy. That just sounds like something completely out of a sci-fi movie.
Yeah, and in this video you're watching right now, she's actually, controlling the scrolling down on the iPad just by imagining closing her left hand. So just how the tap on your iPhone changes based on, what application you're running, we can have that same motor command tied to many different things. So it could be turning the lights on 1 second, it could be pausing and playing Netflix the next second, or it could be scrolling down a recipe on your iPad while your hands are full and cooking.
Well, and I know you're also opening this up to third-party developers too. Can you talk to us about that?
Absolutely. So we use this programming language called JavaScript, which is the most accessible programming language ever. I taught it to fifth graders. It's really easy to use. So what people are able to do is they're able to take our application programming points, and they're able to start creating their own applications based off of that. So you can create something in the virtual reality world that's reacting to your emotions or is controlled by those, imagined movements. And it's really easy. And what we love to see is experts in their fields coming in, picking up our device, and in a matter of minutes, they're already working and integrating and sprinkling in their expertise. And what we'll be launching later this year is an app store that allows these third-party developers to put their own applications up for other users to use.
So this is going to be basically you can open source some of these different applications, and people can actually put this into the store. So they buy one of the notions, and then can access this app store. Talking about the product itself too, I want to let people know where you're at in that as far as people getting their hands on this. Like, now I want one. So I mean, how do people get a hold of something like this?
Yeah, so we just opened up pre-orders at Neurosity.co, and you can just go on there, Apple Pay, and get yourself one. We'll be shipping later this year. And what we love to do at Neurosity is actually ship on time. So when we tell you we're going to ship, we actually deliver on that date. And it's a really exciting opportunity for you to take part and explore the possibilities of this device, whether it's helping you stay focused longer or it's creating a new experience for one of your loved ones. It's a really cool opportunity for you to be able to get a device nowadays.
Well, talking about the possibilities too, I mean, clearly it's very adept at a number of things so far. What's the coolest thing that you're working towards getting it to do?
I love the ability to get myself in a more excited mood. So I think the coolest thing that we're going to be able to do this year is if you're, sitting on your couch or you're lying in bed, you don't really want to go out for a run, you're able to throw the device on, have it, amp you up, get the music going, and now you're all of a sudden out and you're living this happier and healthier lifestyle. So that's something I'm really excited about is being able to augment my sort of mood based on this brain activity.
Wow, well, it's really incredible, and you told us there's the website to go to for everybody to take a look at and take some pre-orders. And AJ, I want to say thank you very much for joining us here on the show to talk about this.
Absolutely, thank you for having me.
So again, right, that's some sci-fi technology that we're talking about right now, but that is available. It's for sale. Like you can pre-order that. Really incredible stuff, and that's part of the fun of this show is we get to bring you interviews like that to talk about this kind of technology. I know we have more coming up. We need to get to a break because we have Ken Young from Flipboard joining us to talk about Tech Briefs, which is where we bring you up to date on some of the biggest stories in tech in about 10 minutes or so. So that's going to be happening up next. Stick around. Right back after this with more Digital Trends Live. Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler. Thank you, everybody, for joining us here today. It is Friday, which means it's time for another edition of Tech Briefs, where myself, Greg Nibbler, am joined by Ken Young from Flipboard. Hello, Ken.
Hey, Greg, nice to see you again.
Good to see you as well. As usual, a lot to talk about. Let's get it started off with this, though. I guess the biggest news that's happening right now has been over the last 24 hours, and that has to do with all of these conventions getting canceled by the coronavirus, the threat of the coronavirus. Just in the last 24 hours or so, we've had F8 canceled. Microsoft has pulled out of the Game Developers Conference, as well as Sony, as well as a number of other ones, actually. It's happening so rapidly, it's hard to even keep up with them all. You have the Geneva Auto Show, which was just canceled. And that, usually the attendance is about 600,000 people for that. And now Switzerland has banned any gatherings over 1,000 people at any one particular spot, so that's canceled. There are so many things happening with this. What's your reaction to this? What other ones have you seen? Like, how do you think this is going to affect the tech industry?
So it's certainly having, coronavirus is certainly having a big impact around the world, and it's not just with tech, but just business in general. If you look at the earnings that were just happened, earnings reports that just happened today, this week, a lot of companies have said that they're going to be missing this quarter's guidance, and that includes Microsoft and Apple. Already, Facebook's F8 Developer Conference has been canceled, and that's not until May. The Game Developers Conference, which is actually coming up soon, has also started to see a lot of people pull out, a lot of companies pull out, including just today, Amazon. Microsoft has also pulled out from that. Sony, Unity has also withdrawn. So all of these are citing coronavirus concerns. And so South by Southwest, which is actually in a couple of weeks, says that they're closely monitoring the situation. And, so there's certainly not a shortage of these conferences that are basically erring on the side of caution. As we talked about probably a couple of weeks ago with Mobile World Congress, MWC, that actually got scrapped because of coronavirus concerns. What they say is coronavirus concerns. But of course, that hasn't really stopped people from really showing up. There have been companies that have held events there. But I wouldn't be surprised as we move forward through 2020 to see more of these events start to err on the side of caution and safety, and say, look, we're not going to have a bunch of thousands of people converge on a single place and run the risk of infection.
Right.
So Google I/O is monitoring the situation. I can imagine the same thing for Amazon's conferences, for Microsoft, for Apple. WWDC is also coming down the road. IFA down in Berlin in September. So a lot of these other, big name events will probably have to rethink things, and whether or not everything starts to turn into an online conference versus an in-person one, that remains to be seen.
Yeah, I think that's probably going to be a trend. You're going to see more live streamed events. You're going to see more like closed off things where maybe just a few members of the media show up. One of the big issues with a lot of this is, these conventions are where people get hands-on time with some of these products, and they actually, especially reviewers, sites like ours, where people can actually see what's going on, and that's all not going to be happening because of that. Clearly, minor in the grand scheme of when it comes to the coronavirus, but definitely an important factor when it comes to tech. So, along those lines, I guess let's go back to talk about MWC, because that was canceled already, but all of those companies still had to make their unveilings and showcase their products, and that is what we've seen right now. So kind of transitioning into that, we've seen a bunch of announcements from some smartphone manufacturers. Huawei making some big moves, actually. One of the things they did, they have some new devices that don't use Google Apps, which obviously that's a big concern. Now, it's not going forward with their full new platform, their new OS that they were creating. Harmony, I think is what it's called. Yeah, Harmony's not, that's not quite ready yet. So it's still on Android, but definitely a big move by them. But I think the biggest thing this week having to do with them is their foldable phone and some of the great reviews they've been getting with it by the people who have been able to get some hands-on with it. I think it's the Mate XS is what it is. And this finally seems to be, at least according to what we've been seeing, one of the foldables that seems to get it right.
So, but haven't we heard that story before when it comes to foldables? I think there were some reviews, some initial thoughts that saying, look, the Samsung Z Flip was pretty good, and same thing for, to a certain degree, the Motorola Razr. But I think at the end of the day, what has confounded people is the screen, right? And sure, the form factor, it's like, oh, it looks amazing, or if it works well. But if the display itself doesn't really function, like doesn't last that long, I mean, is it really worth spending thousands of dollars on this? And
Wow.
the Mate XS has a lot of things going against it. I mean, I believe it's pretty pricey first off the bat. And I mean, and you don't have the Google apps on there. So is it really worth buying, even if you're, in Europe or anything like that? I mean, I would imagine that that's what people would want to have. I mean, have, Gmail and Google Maps and those type of things available on there. And of course, Google has said, look, if you have a Huawei device, do not sideload our apps on there, and because it might be a security risk. You never know if you're getting the source where you're downloading the Google app is actually a legitimate source. So you could run the risk of really causing more damage to your data and to your privacy.
And that part is definitely a concern. And you're right. When it comes to these foldables, all of them are too expensive in my mind. So you would definitely the price wise, yeah. I think this one's probably somewhere around $3,000 US, I think, something like that. So
it's more expensive than the first Galaxy Fold,
right?
Yeah, Samsung's moving in the opposite direction.
Price-wise, there's no way. But as far as the screen, and definitely there's issues with Motorola's, there's issues with the Z Flip. I mean, it still has the crease in it. They even have to put like a little warning like, oh yeah, no, that crease is supposed to be there. But this doesn't appear to have that. So I guess like on the technical end of things, it does look pretty cool. So maybe they've got something figured out there, but we'll have to see. Continuing on there, because I know we have to get to some other topics here, but they also debuted the Mate Pad Pro, which is an iPad competitor. We'll have to see if that takes off. I think that's a difficult one to go up against, but at least they're trying. Certainly a big manufacturer. But I think the other trend from all these manufacturers is 5G, 5G, 5G. All these phones, Sony's, LG's, Honors, Huawei's, everybody who's bringing them out, they all have that 5G trend. So I think that's a really, really big thing that we're going to see.
But they didn't actually announce it in Barcelona at whatever still event they had it in for MWC. They did, like Sony and LG. They're like, hey, here you go. We made an announcement without any fanfare. But you're right, 5G is there. Whether or not it's actually going to be the same type of 5G, I believe it's like Sony is, they have 5G, but it's not the millimeter wave 5G on there. So there's different levels of 5G that you get with each phone. So not all phones are going to be the same when it comes to 5G. So that's something for consumers to be aware of.
Well, for sure. Yeah, different kinds. But definitely, I think the 5G trend as far as the phones themselves being 5G enabled in some way. And then, you got to get into where it's even available, too. That's the whole issue. All right, we got time for one more quick one really quick. And this is just kind of an update to a story that we've talked about before. It has to do with Clearview AI. If you don't know what that is, it's actually a company who essentially scraped the data of personal data, photos, all kinds of things off of social media sites and other places, and then compiled it all into one giant database. So basically, they got an online profile of you from all of the public data that we post. We all know we post a lot online. They went and took that and then compiled an image of you and made it into a searchable database. And then that database was sold, this service was sold to hundreds, if not thousands of different organizations. And we know that there was some law enforcement involved. The New York Police Department, I believe, was one of them that actually purchased this service and was utilizing it. So they used facial recognition, then searched for somebody. And then what happened is they got hacked. So their actual accounts, their user base, the list of who that is got hacked, and now it's starting to be released publicly, and we're finding out a lot more about who is using this service.
Sure, and look, I think at the very beginning, Clearview was saying, look, we're being used by hundreds of law enforcement agencies, and for facial recognition. Now, I think people are kind of concerned. It's like, look, okay, that's fine. I mean, it's on one hand, it's like my information's out there is public, but I don't actually give you permission to use it in your facial recognition. And some state governments, some city and state governments have banned use of law enforcement to saying you can't use facial recognition at all. But yeah, you're right. The Clearview got hacked, or they had some sort of unauthorized access, as was the typical term that people use these days. And as a result, their customer list got released. And not only do we have law enforcement, we have DOJ, Department of Justice, we have ICE, Immigration Customs Enforcement. We have even businesses such as Macy's. We have wealth funds. We have Walmart is using it as well, and a bunch of other private entities. And there's also been reports that Clearview has been selling their technology and their capabilities to authoritarian regimes as well. And so there's a lot of complexity, like in terms of like, is this actually kosher or not? Like, should they be doing that?
Right.
Now, Clearview's AI's founder in a interview with I believe was 60 Minutes said, look, this is the First Amendment right that they have to scrape all this stuff. So, I mean, that's up for debate. But you know, there's a lot of these companies that are using this for various reasons, whether it's to have but there's a lot of risk to potentially expose victims of child abuse, to find illegal immigrants, to find dissidents, or find criminals, find terrorists. I mean, there's a lot of these, it's an ongoing debate to be debated on whether, what's going to happen, whether you're actually going to find is it actually going to be used for benevolent purposes. But
right.
I mean, the risk outweigh the rewards.
Yeah,
I don't know.
And that's the thing, when it comes down to that personal data out there and having anybody just be able to buy access to it is what's kind of weird. And as we see more of the names come out, I mean, it's definitely a lot of ramifications and a lot of, I think, some new laws that could come from this as well as far as protecting data. But we're out of time. Ken, as always, thank you so much. Here's another edition of Tech Briefs.
Thanks, Greg. Appreciate it.
All right, and thanks to everybody, too, who's watching along and listening. Of course, we do have the podcast available, so hit subscribe wherever you get podcasts. Coming up next, we're going to talk about the marine industry. Now, we all know about autonomous vehicles. That's something that's happening, but what about in boats? That is also happening. So we've got a rep from Brunswick Corporation, actually not a rep, the CEO, who's going to be joining us, and he's coming up next, so stick around back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. This is Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler. Thank you for joining us and thanks for watching the show. Be sure to share it on whatever social platforms you prefer the most because we get to talk about cutting edge technology here and it's a lot of fun. And certainly autonomous vehicles are something that we bring up a lot when it comes to the car industry and we know some of the trends in that, but that's also happening in the boating industry and the marine industry in general. And right now we've got an expert who's going to be joining us here to talk about this and certainly at the forefront of that movement. We've got David Folks, who's the CEO of Brunswick Corporation. Thank you so much for joining us.
You are very welcome, Greg.
I'm excited to talk about this and just some of the different trends that we're seeing when it comes to tech. But to give everybody a little bit of a background, can you talk about maybe speak to a little bit to your expertise in this field, which is tremendous, and what Brunswick Corporation is doing in general?
Sure. So Brunswick is the biggest company in the recreational marine industry, and we own a lot of the big brands. You may have heard of Mercury Marine or Sea Ray Boats or Boston Whaler. They're all part of our company, but we also are a real leader in innovation and technology. We own a lot of technology businesses and products. And one of the areas we're particularly interested in, you mentioned, is advancing kind of driver assistance and autonomy within the marine industry. There are some pain points around recreational boating, particularly things like docking, that we'd like to make easier for our customers.
And that's such an interesting use case of it when you think about autonomy out on a lake or out on a river with recreational boats, and how you would even map that. That seems like a tremendous technological obstacle to overcome. So can you walk through just a little bit about some of the things that you're trying to do and how you would be able to make something more autonomous like that?
Yeah, sure. So we've already done a lot of work to try and make those more stressful boating situations easier. So you may know that a lot of modern boats are controlled by a joystick, so you can move the boat sideways, you can spin it. There's a lot more control than there used to be. It's almost like a video game. We also have autopilot and GPS station keeping. So those all assist our customers and boaters in particular situations. And certainly there are differences between the kind of objectives and technology sets that you might use in automotive autonomy and in marine autonomy, but there are a lot of similarities as well. We have 6 degrees of freedom on a boat, so we have pitch and roll and heave that are not such an issue in automotive applications. But on the other hand, we also have a very unstructured environment, so lane markings and signs are not present for us. The advantage we do have is usually a lot less traffic. So we're looking at the same kind of sensor suites, between radar and LiDAR and optical sensors that are being deployed in automotive applications. We have a different set of kind of boundary conditions for ours. And in a boat which is rolling and heaving, sometimes the camera might be looking at the sky, sometimes it's looking at the water. So we're having to, we have to do some interpretation in there that might not be quite so arduous in automotive, for example. Think of us a little bit more like an aerial drone in a lot of ways than an automotive application.
Really playing in, a lot bigger space than just a left or right, or there's a hill in front of me.
Exactly right, yeah. And that unstructured environment, it's pretty obvious in an automotive space what a parking spot is because it's marked. When you're trying to dock a boat against a seawall or something, it's not quite so clear. So there's a lot more interpretation involved in, for example, docking a boat than there is in parking a car. Nevertheless, it's really important to our customers because in recreational boating, part of the fun is operating the boat. And so we're not trying to detach our operators or our customers from the fun of enjoying boating. What we're trying to do is help them out and make some of those more stressful situations a little easier for them.
Interesting. Talking about another trend too when it comes to vehicles, we see a lot of electrification basically. You have Tesla, but then you have pretty much every other major auto manufacturer is following suit with some brand of their own electric vehicle. And is that a trend that's also coming to the boating industry?
Electric propulsion is present in boating. It's more of a kind of around the edges of boating. Planing boats consume quite a lot of power when they're on plane. Obviously, we don't have brakes to regenerate energy, so it's a more challenging case for battery electric. Nevertheless, it is making some inroads in smaller boats with more predictable cycles, for example, and where we're not going away for a week on a boat or something like that. One of the things that we showed recently, though, and it's quite unique, is the larger boats typically have another engine on them that you don't usually see, and it's a generator set that runs all of the systems on the boat outside propulsion. And we do have a new system that we call Fathom that replaces that internal combustion engine generator set with a high-capacity lithium-ion battery pack and electrical and electronic distribution system that allows you to spend a day on the water with all of the systems controlled by a rechargeable battery system. in a lot of ways, that is that you actually consume more fuel in that, running the house systems on a boat sometimes than you do with propulsion. So that is a case that we're pursuing very aggressively, and we have some unique intellectual property and systems there.
Well, it's really exciting just kind of seeing how that's all changing up, too. I mean, it's got to be fun from your end, just being at the forefront of changing things up and thinking about innovation and how the boating industry can change. For Brunswick itself, just is there something else that you'd want to let people know about that you're excited about when it comes to technological innovation?
Well, it is very exciting. We have about 800 engineers and technologists and designers inside Brunswick. So we're a high-tech firm that really values innovation and unique technology development. So, what I'd like people to understand is that that our technology is very contemporary, and we follow a technology framework that we call ACES, which is very similar to that in automotive. So the A is autonomy and driver assistance. The C is connectivity, the E is electrification, and then the S is shared access. And that is more of a business model change than it is technology. But we own the largest boat company in the world, boat club in the world, which is called Freedom Boat Club. So all those tracks that you see in automotive, autonomy, connectivity, electrification, and then shared access participation models are all really interesting for us, and we feel we're at the forefront of those areas. And we're excited to get young people into the company and working in those areas.
Well, David, I want to say thank you very much for joining us to talk about this. And of course, if you ever want to test out any of this technology, we are in Portland, Oregon on a river right here. So I'd be more than happy to go out and test out a demo unit if that works out.
Well, we would be delighted if you would. This has been a great interview. I thoroughly enjoyed it and love to do it again on the water next time.
I love it. All right, let's make that happen. David, thank you so much for being here on Digital Trends Live.
You're very welcome. Have a great rest of the day.
You too. All right, there we go. That is exciting. Seeing about how all this tech that we're seeing in one industry is transferring over to another industry and where it's all going. Really exciting stuff. And I'm gonna take them up on that offer to test that out on the water. All right, let's do this. We've got another edition of TBD coming up. Yes, Jess and Adrian will be here. What are they going to talk about? Well, it's TBD. I don't know. So we're going to find out together right after this here on Digital Trends Live. Hello, everyone. This is Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler, and it is Friday, and it is now time for another edition of TBD. What does that stand for? We're going to find out together right now because joining us, we have Adrienne Warner and Jess Serba. Hello.
Hello. Happy Friday.
Yes.
Happy Friday for sure.
Thank you very much. I want to talk about what we're going to be doing. Well, I want you to tell me what TBD is going to be talking about today.
Well, as you know, Greg, TBD is our weekly segment where we kind of talk about where tech and popular culture intersect. And this week's episode is called Tales of Blind Disconnection.
Tales of Blind Disconnection.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there. Work with us.
Slow down.
Spell it out for you.
I'll slow my roll.
So something that we're going to be celebrating today is Craigslist is turning 25. So we're going to be going into that. But first, before we get ahead of ourselves,
Okay.
It is Friday.
Yes.
And that means
time for brunch.
That's right.
It's time for brunch. All right. And I think we've got Matt bringing something in here right now for us. This is the show where we get to drink. Yeah.
What's your favorite?
What is it that we are drinking here today?
Well, have a sip.
Okay. All right. Let me find out. Okay, it's not tequila. That was last
refreshing.
week. This is refreshing, actually.
You are having a Bellini.
A Bellini. Okay.
Yes, classic.
Which is
A classic.
Prosecco and peach nectar.
Oh, excellent. Very refreshing for this day. So I hope you're having one wherever you're watching. All right. So Tales of Blind Disconnection.
Yes. Okay. So, Greg, we have a question for you.
Yes.
Have you ever used Craigslist?
Yes. I have used Craigslist before. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Have you
I've
had
used it.
good experiences with Craigslist?
I've had some good experiences. Actually, coincidentally, that is how I was first hired by Digital Trends. I found Digital Trends. Put up a Craigslist ad for a video host a long time ago, and I answered that, and that was how I first started working here. Yeah.
All
I'm a
right.
Okay,
Craigslist
so you've
connection.
had good experiences.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, earlier this week, NPR published an article about the history of Craigslist. As I mentioned, it is turning 25 years
That's
old.
crazy.
Hugely influential tech company.
Yeah.
Very, very minimal, though. I mean, we all know and use Craigslist. So this is about a book that's coming out. Jessica Lingle, an assistant professor of communication at UPenn, wrote this book detailing the history of Craigslist, and it's called An Internet for the People.
Internet for the People.
And it's going to be coming out soon.
25 years.
25 years, yeah.
So we were wondering like a little bit about the history of Craigslist.
Yeah.
Right? So Craig Newman started it in 1995 as just like an email distribution list, basically, for his friends in the Bay Area. Just a listserv, basically, to talk about like local events, things such as that. And it grew. All of a sudden, people were just joining. And since it wasn't actually moderated, people just started posting like non-event specific things, such as jobs. When people were like seeking to fill positions in their companies, they were looking for people with skills and things such as that. So that's how the jobs category was born. And then people just started calling for it to become web-based, and in 1996 it did become web-based, and that's when it expanded into all the other like classified categories as well.
I love that his name is Craig.
Yeah,
I know.
it's actually
It really is,
Craigslist.
Craig, it is literally Craigslist. I mean, this is so prolific. Like, they've been around for such a long time. They survived the dot-com boom and crash.
Right.
Like, think about that. You know, they started expanding into other cities in 2000, and now they cover 70 countries. They have more monthly page visits than the New York Times or ESPN.
More than the New York Times or ESPN.
Yes, correct.
Craigslist does. And they've
Not
done,
combined, but yes.
Right.
And it doesn't seem like there's been any design change.
No, barely has changed in the past 15 years.
So they have no staff for that. They don't have to pay that.
No,
so that's good.
And you might notice as well, there's no actual banner advertising on the site. They charge for some postings, things like job postings or certain classified ads from companies, but users don't have to pay a fee. And that's how they make their money.
Wow. Yeah, no banner advertising on there. I mean, that's something that's got to be, that's just amazing that there's a site without.
They don't
without banner
capture people's
advertising.
data. They don't sell it to big companies. Like, it's quite an anomaly in this day and age.
That's crazy.
We thought that the best way to honor 25 years of Craigslist was to be to do a dramatic reading of one of our favorite parts, the misconnection section.
Oh, the misconnections. Yes. Wait, a dramatic reading of them.
Yes.
Yes, we went through and pulled some current, really beautiful ones.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay, so this is a bit of a heart-wrenching, a very emotional moment that we're going to have here.
I think you can see. I think you're too nice, or I think you're nice, and I think you're cute, but you could probably tell I was blushing even when you said, "This is going to hurt." It's Mr. Chiropractor.
Hitting on a
No,
patient?
the other way.
Oh, the patient
Yes.
hitting on the
Hitting on the
chiropractor.
chiropractor.
Wow.
Less of a misconnection, but still
Yeah.
there.
I mean,
still
there's
missed.
definitely a physical connection.
There's
there.
definitely
Yeah.
a tale of blind disconnection, I think, for that one.
I want to know more about that story,
I
or maybe
know.
I don't.
I'm-
No,
I'm
I
not
don't
sure.
think so.
Yeah,
I think
probably
just
not.
leave it be.
That's probably enough. Yeah.
All right, our next one, Stephanie in Safeway.
Oh, in Safeway.
Met an enchanting, beautiful, brown-eyed woman in Safeway. I was so excited during our conversation, I could barely contain myself.
Ew.
I haven't felt those flutters in my heart. Well, it's been a lifetime since I've met someone that flustered me. Wow. What were you smelling when we met?
I could barely contain myself. Like, what is going
Yeah.
on there?
I mean, missed
who knows?
connection.
Wow.
Missed
Yeah.
connection.
You gotta wonder if they ever do connect after these. That's what I've always wondered. Like,
I would
hasn't
love
ever
to know,
actually
actually.
I hope
worked?
so.
I hope so. I do.
Like someone's like, oh yeah, I was smelling something in Safeway, and oh yeah, that was
Happens to be
yeah.
looking
If
through.
you're out there and you know of a missed connection that actually
Please
connected,
tell us.
please drop us a line.
Please let us know.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, I love it. Okay,
All right,
we got another one.
this is a longer one, but it's a classic
Okay.
missed connection story. You complimented my shoes in Brooklyn. We were on the D to Brooklyn and both got off at Atlantic. I am so attracted to you, I was a little dumbfounded you spoke to me. Complicating things was that I'd just come from truly bombing a stand-up comedy set, and I was feeling very off my game. I guess you could say I wasn't vibrating on my usual frequency.
Yeah, that's why you bombed.
I wish I'd leaned in when you broke the ice and said something about my shoes. I wish I'd complimented your beautifully kind eyes. I wish I'd told you the gray in your beard makes me weak in the knees. I wish I'd taken the opportunity to connect and let you know I was having a rough night. I wish I'd walked you home, or at least to your next train, and learned your name. If you would like this, if you see this and would like to connect, I would be truly thrilled to have another chance to talk to you. Tell me about my shoes.
Oh my God! Wow.
I hope they found each other on.
I
mean,
hope
I
so.
hope
That
so.
was-
That's
Seems a
real.
little-
That was
little
That's real.
stalkery.
Tender.
I mean, I
Tender.
guess okay.
Pure even. Ah.
Oh, creepy.
Greg's not into it.
Also,
And
maybe stand-up comedy's not your thing either. But anyway.
All right, last but
Last
not
but-
least. Greg, do you want to take this one?
yeah, I think you should.
Beautiful cougar at New Season. You were the gorgeous cougar in front of me at line at the register. We exchanged looks and smiles. I'd like to buy you a drink.
Straight to the point.
Yeah.
I will
Not
say,
messing around.
in my journey through the misconnections,
Journey.
recently though, I will say there is a huge trend, and it is missing connections at the grocery store,
Okay.
all over the place.
That's where people are finding
many,
love.
yeah.
That's
apparently.
all right.
or trying to find
trying
love
to.
anyway.
Head down to Safeway. Make
Yeah,
some
head
connections,
on
I
down
guess.
to
Yeah, don't do that. Don't go hit on people in Safeway. All right, Craigslist,
All right.
25 years old. That is
25 years old, 25 years of Craigslist.
awesome. Fantastic.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Craig.
Thanks, Craig. Thank you, Craig.
All right, I know there's one. There's another
Yes,
part to this
there's
TBD.
another part to this. So, let's talking about connections. We're going to talk about a mysterious product that has come out of Kickstarter that connects to your temples and gives you a head massage. So
Okay.
this is called the Leroux, and it's a headband that gives you scalp massages, and essentially it has two plastic nubs that just forcefully rub your temples.
It literally like
That's supposed
tagline
to be
is
relaxing?
world's first finger simulated head massaging robot.
Okay. All right. There it is. Well, clearly she's enjoying it.
Yes, and it's supposed to ease tension.
Yeah.
You can wear this anywhere, while you're doing other things, and you can still get a relaxing head massage. My favorite part, however, was when I went through the comments and somebody asked about like what the force of this
Yeah.
motion is,
Yeah.
and the response was the clamping force between the two massage points is only about 30 grams.
What?
I don't want anything on my head described as clamping.
No.
I'm sorry.
The clamping force. Yeah, that is not relaxing already. Oh my God! Now I'm just gonna think it's just not gonna stop and keep on pushing it on your brain. Okay, so it's supposed to massage your temples.
Supposed to massage your temples, right?
I'm sorry, that's gonna be weird if somebody's walking around the office with one of those.
Right?
I don't really want to be
It
around.
doesn't
Like
look
look
that.
at this. No.
It really doesn't look that relaxing to me.
I will say they also say though that it's like a beautician's fingertips because apparently they say regular usage can prevent and eliminate crow's feet.
All right.
Oh, okay. So it's a
You know
beauty
the-
tool
It's
as
a
well.
beauty
There's going to be,
as well.
this guy's going to be your guy in the office. There'll be one person who will have it and will have it on all the time. and just walking around with it, so everybody has to ask,
That's
what's
a
that?
Silicon Valley
What's
moment.
that on your head, Frank? Oh, this is my LaRue. It's actually massaging me
LaRue.
right now. That's how I picture that happening. All right. So this one is a Kickstarter. So we have to ask, Kickstart or Kickstop?
What are you gonna do?
I say kickstart.
I'm
Adrian's
kickstarting
gonna
it
be
too.
the LaRue person in the office.
I'm gonna be the LaRue person because I gotta try this clamping.
I do
first.
too.
It's clamping.
I mean, think about how nice that does feel, though.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't care how crazy it looks.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't. Yeah. I'm
I
putting
wish-
that baby on.
I wish
Okay.
there was another thing too that
Oh,
also did
yeah.
this
That's
at
probably
the
the
same
add-on.
time. That's what
Yeah.
I really want. So I want the stretch goals with this.
You're going all in.
Yeah,
Look at that.
100%.
Look at that clamping force
That's right.
behind that. What does that chain have to? I don't even know.
I don't know.
Oh.
Regardless, that's how hard it's going to be pressing on. But you two will both be
Well,
LaRue's.
Jess,
Yeah,
you're-
I'm 100%. Yeah, I'm on board.
Both. Okay. All
What
right.
about you?
No. Pass. Hard pass. I'm not putting anything on my head that's going to be poking into it. Nope. I'm nervous enough as it is. But congrats, though.
Thank you.
on the
We'll be.
Kickstarter. And another great edition of
Yes.
TBD as well.
Oh, thank
I know
you.
we have to
Yeah.
close out with something.
We do have to close out. We always end with Charlie Cam. So, if you're home watching along, drinking with us, which I hope
Oh, we
you
don't have
are.
any Charlie Cam. We're just being told.
Well, there is.
No.
There's going to be Charlie Cam in the near future.
There it is. That's
Charlie
the tease
Cam
forward.
is TBD. So tune in next week for more Charlie Cam.
All right. Well, thank you, Adrian and Jess. Again,
Thanks, Greg.
TBD, always
Cheers.
fun. And thanks to everybody who watches this show live. We do appreciate it. But we've got another week of programming for you coming up, in case you didn't know. So next week on Digital Trends Live, Drew Prindle will be back for another awesome tech you can't buy yet segment covering the most innovative crowdfunding campaigns the internet has to offer. And as Sierra was talking about the importance of Vacation Day, on vacation, many of you might be looking for a place to work out. Austin Cohen, the CEO of Flexit, will be joining us. Flexit is a mobile app that connects you to a wide network of fitness clubs around the globe. So stay healthy this weekend, everyone. Unplug and relax. But before you do, make sure to subscribe to Digital Trends wherever you consume content. That way you'll get notified when we go live, which is in secrets 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, every Monday through Friday. But get the notification. It's way easier that way. For Digital Trends, I'm Greg Nibbler, and I'll see you right back here next week.